even in our copywriting and stuff, we teach not only to focus on pain points, but to focus on tickle points as well. Because if you can find those things that are pattern interrupts, it's grabbing attention, it's getting them out of that hypnosis of being bored to tears into a hypnosis of my mind is now open and listening to you because you shook me up a bit, you know?
You're watching the Marketing Misfits with Norm Farrar and Kevin King.
Senor Norm, ¿qué pasó?
Hey, how's it going?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering about you. You've had some ups and downs lately.
I'm still having the downs.
I know.
Yeah,
A little monster invaded you or something.
Yeah, I'm not
right?
100%. I had toothache, and right now I still have a headache and I still have the ache, but it's way better than yesterday. This has gone on for 2 weeks, and I'm just absolutely going nuts.
Yeah, we were doing a webinar, and for somebody, I guess at the time of this recording is about a week ago.
Yeah,
and you were doing your part. We had divided up who's going to have sections, and all of a sudden you did your part, and then I did my part, and then it was supposed to be your part, and then you were gone. And I was like, where'd Norm go? He disappeared. and I was like, you had told me beforehand that you were having a toothache. So I was like, oh, his tooth must have been just killing him. So I just picked it up from there. And then I didn't hear from you for hours after that. And I was like, man, do I need to call Connie to make sure the guy's okay? And then finally you sent me some message that you're just it was just miserable for you.
It was some of the worst pain I've experienced. So get this. I have the toothache. I have to wait a week to get into the dental surgeon.
Welcome to Canada, everybody.
Welcome to Canada.
Socialized medicine that you all want in the U.S. Welcome.
Exactly. So I waited a week. I got some antibiotics during that time. It started to come down a bit, so that was okay. Plus, I was on some Advil. But Advil. And then I have it done, and it's an abscess, which is from an old root canal. So they have to break through the cap. They have to do the posting. They go through, they drain this abscess, and my sinus gets punctured. So now for the last week,
they messed up when they were in there doing that.
So they said it was just because of the pressure of the sinus and the length of the 15 years or 20 years I had this other root canal, that it was so thin that the abscess, when they went through, drained it, punctured the sinus. So now I'm on my side. I can only sleep on one side, because if I flip over to the other side, all I do is my bloody sinus is gone crazy. So when I get it done, all of a sudden I've got more pain than I did the week before. And so now I had to go and get some more antibiotics. And even now they just started to kick in late last night, and on Advil. And I'm still at times just feel like I'm going to be on the floor thrown up. That's the easiest way to describe it.
If you do that, just move your camera down so we can get captured on video, because that could go viral.
Hey,
if we see a guy with a beard throwing up all over his beard and just dripping down, and he's tossing up a storm and banging on his head, that could make this podcast the most watched ever. And
you know what the great thing about that is, I don't have to make lunch.
That's true. You're good. You're good. Are you gonna be okay to fly with this? Because I know you're coming soon to.
I was really worried about that, and I have to go I have to go in not only to get this repaired, right, but I have another cracked tooth that's a root canal from a past that just happened. So now I don't know what's going to happen. Lots of fun.
And what happened? You were going to go to Mexico and have a bunch of stuff done.
I was going to do that thing, just time got in the way, and I just never did it. So now for 10 times the cost, I'm having some of this stuff done up here.
Well, man. Well, maybe I think our guest today may pump you up, because she's always full of energy. So even she may take some of this pain away because her energy always is like at the next level. Because she was I think her nickname is the prepared performer or something like that. And she was a previous performer, and it shows. But not only was she a previous stage performer, she's a performer when it comes to marketing, and like crushes it. She's got her own little group and does all these cool little parties. But I'm sure we'll talk about that. Do you want to introduce who we have on the show today?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so today I've bumped into Molly a bunch of times at a bunch of different events. And like you said, she is always just full of energy. I just love I love her energy. So today we have a special guest. It's Molly Mahoney. Now I just have to do my job. Hey, Molly.
Oh, you didn't do it with your nose. You didn't do it with your nose. Usually you go down with your nose and like put that button with your nose. It's a headache. It's a headache. That's right. It's a headache. You can't do it.
Oh, I have the power to remove annoying people. We can bring it back.
I was going to say, you all are fully leaning into the idea of the Misfits Marketing Podcast. I am like, what are we even talking about? I don't know if you know that I've had dentures since I was 12. So Norm, if you need help with the teeth stuff, I've got you also.
Oh, man.
But
Molly, we can't talk to you. We can't talk to you though yet. Because we can't talk to you because I've never seen you come on a podcast or event without doing something first.
I know.
So we have to properly introduce you. Norm Gage said your name. He said how awesome you are, but you have to properly introduce yourself. So we will sit back and wait.
Now, I wonder if this will be a copyright issue. Maybe you'll have to do something
I don't
original.
think so. I think it's public domain now.
Oh, okay.
I'll go for the short version. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
So my question to you right off the gate is why do you start every talk you do? It's awesome. But with that, do you go up on stage? The announcer's like, welcome to the stage, Molly Mahoney, everybody on your feet. Yay. And then you like stand there and just look around for 5 seconds and just start singing. And what is it's a really good hook and it gets everybody's attention. They put their phones down. They're like, what the heck is this? What's the marketing behind this or the psychology behind this?
Yeah, there's so much behind it. No one's ever asked me that before. So thank you for that question. And I also, Norm, I don't know if you were there when Kevin came up to me.
By the way, you end with it too, just by the way.
I do.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so I bookend it with a song. Well, no, and it's tricky because at one point, after I started doing it, the first couple of times, I'll explain why and how it works and why will continue to do it. At one point, I thought I need to pick a different song, and so sometimes I would do like "When You Wish Upon a Star" or something like that. I would pick other songs, and I'll explain why I'm only going to be doing this song for the future, as far as I know. And it's interesting. So when you came up to me at the Bot Summit. Kevin came up and he was like, man, I really thought you were going to be doing the exact same presentation that you had done before. But then what happened partway through? Do you remember what you said?
Yeah. What I did?
What you said to me about it?
No, what did I
you were
say?
Just like, but man, that was not even close to the same information.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, so I get that it's like a little risky because it could leave people thinking that it's going to be exactly the same thing every time. So there are some ways that I mix it up. So let me explain how it even started. I was working with a speaking coach. I mean, it could have been 10 years ago by now. And she was explaining, to start when you're speaking, to start with some sort of hook, just like we do in everything, right? Whether it's an email, a video, a conversation with my kids about what we're going to do for dinner. Like you want to get people's attention first. And so many people, I don't know if you guys notice this, but I notice that so many people start with the same type of hook, like raise your hand if you've ever yada, 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 right? There's these now types of hooks that have become more common. And when we teach people to speak on stage now, we walk them through all different types of ways that you can start your presentation, like with statistics or a joke or whatever, different things. For me, when we were looking for what this thing would be, whether it's a story or whatever, the thing that is most natural to me is actually singing. And I talk so fast that when I get on stage, if I jumped into my normal energy, my shoulders would be up in my ears and I would actually be hovering above everyone where no one would be able to understand me. So it has this secondary effect of slowing my breathing down. It's completely different than most people. And I always get some looks that are like, what? But then usually you can see that there's a nostalgia with it, because with that song, people have a connection to it or they're familiar with it. And I always start, at some point I'll not do this, but for the time being, I'm almost always starting by talking about what that dream is, which is separate from all of the crazy fast-paced AI tech stuff that I'm talking about, because I feel if we don't connect ourselves to the human side of what we even want, what is the point of the rest of it? And then with the bookend at the end, I sing the end of the song. I won't give the little spoiler away, but at the very end, I change the lyrics and make a little joke, which always leaves people on my goal is to give actionable advice, but also to uplift people and leave them feeling better than they were before. So it's a way that I can do that.
Yeah, I think I saw you speak for the first time. I think it was the AI bot several years ago at Perry's event. You were just going like bang, 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 like through like, here's how you do this, how you do this, how you do this. Here's step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did you catch that? Too bad. Step 7, 7, 8, 9. I'll give you the slides later. Step 10. And I was like, hold on. I was like trying to take pictures as fast as I could. But it was really good stuff. And I do some of that same thing because sometimes that gets people to pay attention and get off their phones. And actually,
I've never seen you sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
You haven't?
No, Kevin, I've never seen him do that.
Oh, no, I usually sing Gin and Juice or something like that.
Oh, okay.
You know what else? Just by chance, this is really just by accident, kind of. And then there was like a glitch in a tool that I like to use, but I now have Kevin in almost all of my slide presentations. I had you in my slides in ASW again. No, it's good because no, the glitch is not you. The glitch is the tool. I tried to put Perry's face in for AI Bot Summit, but the tool wasn't working. And I was like, I'm just going to leave Kevin in there. So I just shout you out all the time and I have you in there.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I did it at ASW also.
I'm sorry, Norm, you're just part of the team.
I'm just part of the team.
Norm, I need to add you into my slides too. I'll work on that.
Just have a picture of Kevin with a long coat, and I'll be riding his coattails.
There's nothing.
And then I can have you holding onto your beard. It'll be perfect.
Nothing that gets under Norm's skin more than like when we go somewhere, like someone's introduced. It's happened at events. It happens on Zoom calls. It happens on different things. We're partners. We're equal partners in Marketing Misfits and Dragonfish. He carries his weight. I carry my weight. We're equal partners, but almost inevitably, where somewhere we go, it's Kevin's thing. It's Kevin's podcast, Kevin's show, Kevin's whatever. So how do you do that in marketing when that's a branding thing? What would you say we should be doing from we're going to get some free advice here from a branding point of view to actually get people to quit doing that where they just think it's Kevin's and it's ours and given Norm his
so this is interesting that we're talking about this because we don't usually talk about this, but I'm usually a lot of the times I'm behind the scenes. Kevin's putting out all the emails and, he's the marketing guy. Plus he's got the events. So, it's.
You have the beard. You're the guy that's memorable. I'm just the fat dude that's doing the marketing. You're the.
I was going to say that about the beard and the logo also, right? Like it's also, you're on the left and most of us in this, we're in Canada and in this United States, we read left to right. So you would think that it's like the Norm and Kevin show. I don't know. But so what about
in the alphabet? So I have to be K becomes
true. What about like in your content that so one thing I always like to say is it's not only what you do in the podcast or the show or the video or speaking on stage or the thing, what you do in that is not as important as what you do around it. So what are you doing around the show that leads back to the show? Like, are you, and I should know this more than I do, but what type of like repurposing are you doing of the show?
Oh, we're doing shorts. We publish the edited version, like we're doing that right now.
Right, which I've watched.
We do shorts.
It's awesome.
And we're not doing too much social right now because we are going to do a revamp of the content that we've put out. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much it outside of the newsletters that we have. And on my podcast and I think on Kevin's podcast, you probably talk about it, Kev. But that's pretty much what we've done.
Only when you pay me.
Okay, so for the newsletter, does Norm ever get a voice in the newsletter? Maybe you had like
he doesn't allow me. I don't pay him.
Maybe there was a little section that's like a note from Norm in the PS.
He wouldn't like that. It takes the attention off of him. He really does like this, He really does like this. I think he pays people to say, oh, the train trips, the CMS. Oh, it's Kevin's train trip. Like this is our collective mind society thing. Or whenever we go out. It doesn't bug me at all. As you can tell, my glasses are steaming up.
I also would just like to remind you, Kevin, that Norm has the control here. So.
I know, he has the buttons.
There. Now I have the power.
I have to be careful what I say because I'll get beeped out or I'll get kicked out.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Kevin and Norm here with a quick word from one of our sponsors, 8Fig. Let me tell you about a platform that's changing the game for Amazon sellers. That's right, it's called 8Fig. On average, sellers working with 8Fig grow up to 400% in less than a year.
8Fig offers both funding and free tools for e-commerce growth and cash flow management. And here's how it works.
8Fig provides flexible, data-driven funding tailored to your exact needs. They can fund anywhere from up to $50,000 all the way up to $10 million.
8Fig gives you free tools to forecast demand, manage inventory, and analyze cash flow.
Visit 8fig.co, that's 8fig.co, to learn more or check the link in the show notes below.
Just mention Marketing Misfits and get 25% off your cost.
That's 8fig.co, 8fig.co. See you on the other side. So speaking of kicking out, so how did you go from the stage to marketing? Your background is in drama and marketing. You did some traveling Broadway or something at one point.
Yeah, I did the national tour of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which was so awesome. I got to meet Richard Sherman. I did a movie with Dick Van Dyke. Really cool things. I sang in Vegas. I did cruise ships. Lots of awesome. But when I decided while I was on the tour with Chitty, I decided we got engaged and then we wanted to have kids. And I was like, I did all I really wanted to do.
You got engaged at Chitty Bang Bang?
During Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, we got engaged.
Oh, okay.
My husband is a bass player and we met doing shows together. And then
okay. I got it.
Yeah. So while we were on tour in Chicago, we got engaged and we wanted to have kids. And it was like, do I stay in New York in our 400 square foot apartment that I loved so much, or do we move back home close to my family? So we moved back to California. He's from Wisconsin, moved to California, as we've talked about. But when we were there, I was working as I basically was teaching singing, dancing, acting. And that's when I actually first created The Prepared Performer, was in order to help other performers to be able to have a career like I had. And I learned everything in the beginning from Pat Flynn. So like if you search tap dance terminology, I am the number one search result for tap dancing. Weird. But what happened is in 2016, when Facebook Live came out, I made a big pivot. And rather than teaching performers to have a business, I started teaching business owners how to perform. And we launched a program called Camera Confidence. And it was way more lucrative and way easier to convince people to listen to me, because performers wanted to be, for the most part, were stuck in a mindset that they didn't really see the possibility and how they could monetize things and things like that. And so by shifting that ideal client match, it was amazing. So that's like what got things started.
So a lot of people that are business people, there's this fear of getting on stage or getting in front of people, whether that's in stage live at an event with 5,000 people or 10 people in a room, or just on a camera going out on the internet. The big trend right now in AI is faceless, because you can do stuff now. You don't have to go on camera. You can have an avatar. You don't have to be nervous. How do you help people get over that? Is it a confidence thing? Because some people, they really know their stuff, but they fumble around when they try to teach it,
Yeah.
or some people don't know their stuff. How do you, where's that, what's the magic sauce there?
Yeah, I think the confidence piece is a huge part of it. I mean, that's why I've written 2 books about confidence. So one is a children's book called Finding My Awesome. And it's actually a secret Trojan horse for adults. So the adults have to read it to the kids and then they get the confidence boost without asking for it.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is awesome. And then the other one is called Choose Confidence. And it's actually a collaboration book because I've recognized that I actually think confidence is one of the most important skill sets, if not the. And I've posted that before, and I've had people on Facebook get mad because they're like, oh, empathy is more important than confidence, which I don't agree. Because if you're empathetic and you're a good person, but you don't have the confidence to show up and put that out there, to be totally honest, and I know this doesn't seem controversial, but it seems controversial to say it. Like, if you're a jerk, but you have the confidence to put it out there, like, you're going to be able to make a bigger impact, whether it's a good or bad impact. But if you're a good person and you don't have the confidence to put it out there, that's a problem. So I think that confidence piece is really huge. And we have a whole framework on how to help you unlock your confidence, which I don't know if you want me to share.
Sure.
But yeah,
sure. I'm not picking on Norm, but I remember Norm. I mean, Norm's a brilliant guy, smart guy, good marketer, good businessman. But I remember he got invited to speak at amazing.com back in 2017.
Oh, cool.
It was his first time to actually, or one of his first times to go on stage. And this is a big room of at least 1,000 people, maybe 1,500.
15.
And I was back in the blue room or green room, whatever they call it, with him. And I see the guy over there pacing back and forth, and he's just sweating. Sweating. And he was so nervous. He's like,
It's the first time I spoke in front of a crowd.
Yeah. And he went out there and he did well. And some people have to have everything scripted, everything on note cards or on a teleprompter. Other people, like myself, I never, ever, ever write anything. There's no notes, no nothing. I just wing it. I just go through it. I go through my presentations. I make them, and I think them out in my head as I'm doing the slides or whatever. And then I will go back and run through it just to, and if it's an hour presentation, I'll run through it in 10 minutes just with like, okay, I'm going to talk this, and then I go and do it. But other people have to have it very choreographed and very organized. So how do you?
Well, I'm like that, Kev.
Yeah, no, just on webinars, I wing it, and you're like, I need some time to prepare what I'm going to say, which is, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
And I've told Kevin, like, if we're doing something, like maybe we're talking about our collective mind society, and he asked me to come up on stage, I've got to know just what he's going to say so I can prepare. I have like really bad dyslexia. And when I try to say something, or if I'm trying to form a question, it might just be natural, for Kevin to say it, but I've got to form it, and 3/4 of the time it'll come out not quite the way, like my mind can say it. I can't get it out of my mouth in time.
Yeah.
And it's really tough.
And there's different forms of dyslexia too, right? So I have it in the visual form, as well. And I had to eventually allow myself to, and I'm sure you've done this also, but treat it as a superpower and put it out there that's something, because I used to get really embarrassed if I was typing and I would spell things wrong, but now I've like put it out there in such a way where I spell my acronyms wrrong on purpose so that people know that's just part of the secret sauce. So
one of the things I've been able to do is my son told me about this. He's a musician and he goes out, he performs in front of small crowds, big crowds, and he has stage fright. And so there's a pill out there. I think it's polyproline or something like this. And it's something that if you have a bad habit, let's say you're afraid of spiders, that you can take this, and over a 3-week period with heavy doses of this, you'll be able to defeat any habit. And so I started taking this on low doses.
Ayahuasca.
Yeah.
I was just kidding.
Yep. But that's when you pee and poop on stage. Yeah. I guess
I'm not going to have that one. Thank you.
But if I do that, and I can remember taking it after the first podcast that I had, like with my podcast, when I first went on, the first few, I was shaking like you wouldn't believe. I take that, and now my hands are like rock solid. And so it kind of
it sounds like you need an affiliate link for that. First of all,
yeah.
Right. Norm's going to have his own supplement line. I do think it's important to recognize, like, we always start everything with something that I learned back in college when I was getting my BFA in theater. There's an acting theorist named, I said theaterist kind of, but acting theorist named Konstantin Stanislavski. And he has this big chart. If you look up Stanislavski's chart, you'll see it. And it has all these different pieces on it. And on the bottom, in one huge big rectangle, it says work on one's self. And that's really the key first. So even just recognizing whether you are someone who's more like, I'm going to do it off the cuff, or you're someone who knows that you need to prepare, that's, I think, the first step. And for me, like what I said about singing, I know that having that song at the beginning is going to get me to a point where I'm not like, my energy jumping out of my skin. But I also think that there's something to the idea of being a prepared performer, like we call it, that is a little different than needing to have everything fully scripted out, because you always sound natural when I hear you speaking, Norm, right? But a lot of people, if they really script out every word, it sounds so robotic and it misses the human connection. So when we teach it, there's like a slightly different combination between the two, is that you want to have almost like goal, signs while you're driving, like traffic signs. So similar to what you said, Kevin, with the slides, right? Having those things that are the standard bullet points. And for me, even for things like this, like if you're going to go on a podcast episode and if you're someone who really wants to have things prepared, you could very easily get knocked off track and then fall completely flat on a podcast because you didn't have a set of frameworks or bullet points or structure behind the scenes that you are now able to kind of weave in and out of, almost like a jazz musician has the chord changes, but they're able to bop around it. That's really what I feel is the best as a speaker, is to have those frameworks, those kind of catchphrases that you come back to, and then actually putting it into practice. So like, Norm, after you did that presentation, did it get easier after having done the first one?
Yeah, but see, you know what? When I did the first one, I'm not kidding, I must have went over it 400 times.
Yeah.
And now,
did you go over it in front of other people or just on your own?
No, just on my own with stupid remote on my Apple computers, pacing back and forth in my hotel room. But now it's a lot different. So when I go out, I have a presentation. I don't have to do it as much. I know one of the things is I know the content.
Totally. And like when you are a real expert at something and you have your deep knowledge of it, that's going to make things way easier as well. When I used to teach singing lessons, there was a student of mine who was one of the top 5 on NBC Telemundo's The Voice when he was like 8 years old. And he was a crazy mariachi star. And I started working with him after that, and he was doing more jazz, and now he's doing all kinds of country. He's like open for Leanne Rimes. He's amazing. But I was with him when he was singing the Star Spangled Banner at this big city event in Anaheim. And I remember being backstage with him. And this is one of the most talented humans I've ever met in my life. And he was so nervous, like crawling out of his skin nervous. And it was so fascinating to me to be like, you are literally the most talented human I've ever met. And to see him having that kind of existential crisis around it was such a good example for me, in the fact that we all need our own, process for getting out of our head and being able to really ground ourselves in trusting that we are solid. One
of the things when it comes with connecting, I think your stage background helps, and people that have a stage background can oftentimes be better speakers because but I've noticed, like in my BDSS events, and you were at the one we did last year in Hawaii.
It was awesome.
To get the speakers at a BDSS event to bring top level actionable tactics, I gamify it. So they get voted on by the audience, and then I publish the results at the end. So they're competing to like deliver like actionable tactical stuff, not just a bunch of fluff. But I notice a lot of times the people that win, because I've had people that come to me and say, can I see the videos of the winners from the past few years? And I want to see, how their presentation was. And if you go back and you look at them, a lot of times it's the people that are entertaining or make fun of themselves or really connect that win. It may not be the best material, but it's the ones that go up there. And like the last year's winner, she went up and she opened up with a little magic trick. Like instead of singing, she did a little magic trick with some put some money on fire and had someone come up to the stage, engage the audience. And then she did a couple other things along the way. Another one, the one the year before, got up there, kicked off her shoes, sat on the edge of the stage, barefoot, got up and wandered around, said all kinds of stuff. Another one the year before that was making all kinds of jokes, some a little dirty, some not so dirty, and just kind of making fun of things. And that seems to come across. So is that something that you can teach, or is that something that's just natural to some people?
It's definitely something that you can teach. I think there are some people who are naturally more comfortable with it. And like as a mom, we teach our kids improv all the time. Like we do improv games as we drive. When we drive, and this is mostly my husband because he's crazy, but he has them make up songs as we're driving with the names of the buildings, like whatever they see on signs or whatever, because it keeps you in a place where you can solve problems more quickly. Like there's so many benefits that come out of being able to be, flexible on the fly with improv stuff like that. So I think my kids will probably grow up because they're doing musical theater, all of that. They'll be more naturally inclined to be comfortable with stuff like that. If you're someone who's never done any of that before, it's still a skill set for you to learn. So, even in our copywriting and stuff, we teach not only to focus on pain points, but to focus on tickle points as well. Because if you can find those things that are pattern interrupts, so much of it is like NLP stuff as well. It's a pattern interrupt. It's grabbing attention. It's getting them out of that hypnosis of being bored to tears into a hypnosis of my mind is now open and listening to you because you've shook me up a bit. There's definitely a skill set.
I was going to ask you about that. We've been talking about speaking from stage or doing on camera, but the same apply. You just kind of hinted at when you take that same concepts and you apply it to the written word.
Yeah.
And what's that? There's that thing called the 6-second story or something like that. And I started off when I started my newsletter. I've gotten away from it. Norm still does it. It's more like a 21-second story, but it's a story. And Norm starts each one of his newsletters with a story from his past, and then ties it into some sort of lesson in the Amazon world. And those things that's a hook. Also, it draws people in and it personalizes it. It brings that. And it makes the rest of it so much better. And that's what I'm thinking of marketing. A lot of people, they get straight to the point, or they say fluffery, like, well, it's almost springtime. The winter's the weather's getting a little bit warmer here. I hope you're doing good. Just stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what do you teach? Because you've taken what you do on stage and now you do it to market, to sell your stuff and to sell your things. How can you walk me through how that applies there?
Yeah. So one of the things that we do actually, which is so helpful, is we have a framework that's a story generator. And so there's a spreadsheet that I have. I can even probably pull it up and read it to you, like all the things that are on it. But we call it Stories That Convert is like the concept. And yeah, look at that. I found the link right away. So it's the story idea generator. What you'll do is you have frameworks and concepts and buying beliefs that you want to instill. So when you're doing this, we actually source loads of stories so that when you're writing copy, when you're speaking on stage, when you're at a coffee shop, you can pull these stories in at any moment, because if you don't take time to actually brain dump the stories that you have in your life, in your head, in your heart, tangentially in like a metaphor or a story, a common story that people may know, it's harder to think of in the moment. And so we love to help people to actually figure out all those stories to begin with. You also then can put those stories into a custom GPT or AI. We were doing, Marcus Heitcutter?
No.
I think he's in Driven. So he does trading and has an amazing program called Rockwell Trading. And he lives out in Austin, and he's so amazing. And he has crazy stories, and he's put loads of them into a custom GPT that we used to write his social media content as well. So it works super well. So the main framework that we use is you come up with the beliefs that you want to instill, the frameworks, objections, all kinds of stuff like that. And then you find personal stories, client stories, nonfiction stories, fictional stories, quotes, metaphors, songs, statistics, news hijacking, which is where you find things that's happening in the news that help to relate to those concepts or things that you want to teach. And then the final one that we have on our list is memes. So just different like funny jokes that you can tie back to that thing. And if you can weave that stuff in before you get to the point of what you're teaching, it makes that teaching moment stickier. It makes people more receptive to it. It gives you authority, because if you mention like a quote from someone else, instantly, like Les Brown always says, speakers speak. And so you get to put this stuff into action anywhere that you are. Just start sharing these stories. And then when it comes time for a podcast or an email or you're speaking on stage, it's going to feel that much more natural.
Now, a quick word from our sponsor, Levanta. Hey, Kevin, tell us a little bit about it.
That's right, Amazon sellers. Do you want to skyrocket your sales and boost your organic rankings? Meet Levanta, Norm and I's secret weapon for driving high-quality external traffic straight to our Amazon storefronts using affiliate marketing. That's right, it's achieved through direct partnerships with leading media outlets like CNN, Wirecutter, and BuzzFeed, just to name a few, as well as top affiliates, influencers, bloggers, and media buyers, all in Levanta's marketplace, which is home to over 5,000 different creators that you get to choose from.
So are you ready to elevate your business? Visit get.levanta.io/misfits. That's get.levanta, LEVANTA.io/misfits, and book a call, and you'll get up to 20% off Levanta's Gold Plan today. That's get.levanta.io/misfits.
Do you do that, Norm? You have a lot of stories. Do you have like a repository
Or a
you
database? Yeah.
Or you just like each week you're sitting down just dictating it?
No, what I do is I got to get in the zone, because if I try to just to think of the story, you're sitting there for 15 minutes trying to think of, what didn't I say? What did I say?
Yeah.
But I'll sit down. I'll come up with about 15 stories from my past, shoot them over to Kelsey. I'll explain it on an audio recording, send it over to him. Then he listens to it. I'll come back, he'll write it, and then I'll put it more into my words. And that's how I do it with the personal stories. But you know what? One of the things for my podcast people like is they don't know, like I know, and I've embraced this. At first, I'd be in the fetal position. Like I literally would fall on the ground in the fetal position if I made mistakes or if I couldn't get those words out like I was telling you about. Mm-hmm. But now I embrace that. If I screw up, we just call it, just blunders. I call actually my son the mayor of Blunderville, because he'll go and edit all the blunders and people like it, so that's another thing.
So Rachel Miller actually, I think, is the first person who ever said this, that I use it all the time, but it's an authenticity indicator. So I love when things go a little wrong, because it proves that you're going to be able to be flexible and handle things in the future. If you have a freak out when things go wrong, there's no one on the planet who thinks everything is always going to be perfect. Like we all know things are going to go wrong. And when they see the way that you handle things going wrong, it makes you that much more desirable to work with, I feel.
Yeah. And now, oh, sorry, Kev. But now I don't know who the guest is when I do the podcast, and it's live. And so 5 minutes before I turn it on, I know that I'm talking to somebody. I don't know the topic. I don't know anything. And then we just do it. So I've got to think, hopefully the topic is good and I'm not getting one word answers. But, that's just a challenge that I did for myself to try to get out of, this mold I was in.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm launching a new podcast, which I'm hoping both of you will be on.
Kevin first, of course.
We'll see. It's called Authentically Awesome. And the whole thing that I decided to do was actually just.
Of course, I got to go on first, Norm. You can.
Yeah. Molly, and just mention me as the team.
You see, Kevin and his team are coming on the podcast the next episode.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Have a little animation of Norm riding his coattails.
Okay, but that's my whole point with it is I don't want anyone to know the questions. And one of the first people I interviewed, I could tell he was not like he wasn't mad, but you could tell that he was like, this wasn't going to be his favorite podcast because he is someone who likes to have everything planned out. But I shook it up a little bit. He came around throughout it. It was good.
Well, see, a lot of times you get in a podcast, if you get people talking about themselves, if you know how to do question. I mean, my background's in journalism. I was editor of my high school paper and stuff. So I'm often told that the way I frame or lead people is very conversational, and they like it. They're nervous at the beginning of a podcast, like when I do the AM PM podcast, my Amazon podcast.
Yeah.
People are like, "What are we going to talk about?" It's like, I have no idea. And they're like, "Well, how am I supposed to prepare?" You don't. We're just going to talk shop. And
that's why you have to live prepared, because if you are a true expert who has prepared beforehand,
and I can talk on almost any subject. And just yesterday, I was talking with the COO of Pattern, which is the number one seller on Amazon worldwide. This is chief operating officer of the number one seller. Almost, I think they're into the billions of dollars of annual sales. And he wanted to talk. I said, anything you want to talk about? And he's like, well, I'm really good at logistics. I have this and this and this. I said, sure, no problem. I'm not a logistics expert, but I know enough because of my newsletter and because of my experience where I can go down a bunch of rabbit holes and I can get him to start talking about things he loves to geek out on. And at the end of an hour, he's like, that was awesome. We could have kept talking for 2 more hours. I love and so that goes back to the prepared performer aspect of where maybe I'm not prepared. I haven't sat down and made my notes of like, okay, we're going to talk about this and this and this, and here's my 7 questions. I hate it when people do that and they send me questions in advance. We're going to talk about that. No, we're not. I'm not going to talk about anything on your list. If you're going to ask me those questions, I'm not doing your podcast. I tell them I'm not doing your podcast. You can weave one of them in if you want to.
Right.
But I'm not doing your podcast if you're just going to ask me questions. So that I think goes back to your prepared thing is when you're an expert, you know enough and you can guide it, then you come across as prepared, and you put people at ease.
You don't lose that human side of it, because if you over prepare, then you're not being authentic, and then you are a robot, unless you're Meryl Streep, which I don't think most people are. So there you go.
One of my things I hate, it's a transitional thing. It's kind of like an or but when you're doing an interview with someone and they say, great question. And you say something and their response before they answer is, great question. It's a pause. It's a mental pause thing for someone to actually
give a chance to be able to think about the answer.
Yeah, but that's a common thing. If you start listening, I pick up on nuances in speech, whether it's on podcast or it's in person, or little nuances of. I mean, Norm can tell you I've given him a hard time on some of his little nuances from time to time, and I'm going to
go back to the beginning of this, because when you asked about me singing, I said, no one has ever asked me that. What a great question.
No, you didn't say it that you said no one's ever asked me that. I love it.
I know. I'm just kidding. I don't think I
you didn't say the typical good question.
Good question.
Okay.
Yeah. That is a great question, and I will give you an answer to that in just a moment.
And I going into this, I had no idea I was going to ask that question. So it just comes to me. So, but on a marketing side, stories are one of the most important things you can do when it comes to marketing. And a lot of people don't know how to tell. How do you tell a good story? Is there a beginning, an end, and a middle? Is there a hero's? There's different types of story. There's a hero's journey. There's this journey. There's the aha moment. What are some of the most powerful storytelling techniques or stories? If someone's new to this, they're listening to this and okay, this sounds cool. I want to give this a shot. Maybe I'll use GPT to help me a little bit or something, because I'm not a good writer. But where should they start, or how should they? Can you walk us through a process? Maybe.
Yeah, I'll give you a few different ones actually. I have. Do you know what a ladder post is?
A ladder post?
Yeah. Okay.
Let's explain it for the audience. They may not know.
I was like, do we know the same thing? I don't know. So the way that we talk about a ladder post is a post that you do on social where you ask people to comment below the post in order to get access to something, and then you reply to them and say like, oh, check your DMs, or, sending you information, and then you message them. Someone replies, someone comments, you reply, you message, they comment, well, and it does this. So it kind of creates this ladder effect in the comments underneath. It looks like little rungs on a ladder. And those types of posts still to this day have been our most successful in terms of engagement and also in terms of revenue generators. And so that's one of the main ways that we are teaching storytelling before we even get to the camera and different things like that, is how to write these types of stories inside these posts. So some of them for ladder posts are just like questions, but there's others that I've created all these templates. So I'll just give you some of the examples from some of the templates that we use for this. One is called Coming Out of the Success Closet. And so it is when you admit some sort of success that you've had or a win, and it's coupled with vulnerability. But if you're too gimmicky with it, it doesn't work, right? You've got to really, like Norm said, take a moment to actually find something that you really feel this way about. So I can walk through like the different steps of that one, if that would be helpful.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. I also had no clue we were going to talk about this, so I just pulled it up so I can actually read it to you and give you the right way. So here's the first thing is the opening, which is where you admit some sort of emotion that comes up when you think about celebrating your own success. So for a lot of us, we get embarrassed, or there's shame around talking about the things that make us awesome. Maybe not for you. I don't know. I don't know. But for a lot of us, there's a lot of trepidation in that, because like for me, I know when I was in first grade, we did testing at school for getting into the GATE program was what we called it, but it was like the gifted talent, gifted education program. And I was really excited about it. And my teacher in first grade was talking about, well, next year, and I, shocker, talked a lot and asked a lot of questions. And when she was saying that, I kept saying, I'm so excited, I'm going to be in GATE. Like I was really so proud of myself about it. And I'm sure I have like painted some horrible version of her in my head that is way worse than it actually was. But in my memory, she was like this dragon lady that came over to me and was like, you are not special. Do not talk in class. Do not make other people feel bad because you did something that was good, this whole thing. And then I built this story that I should not celebrate my success because other people are going to feel bad if I shine brightly. Not good, right? So I know now that a lot of people feel that way. So this type of a post is a way to kind of work through that and also share your success in a way that inspires others. So the first thing is admit the emotion that comes up for you when you think about celebrating your own success. An example is, this is something that's been hard for me to share, ... up until now. And so that's like a hook that incorporates something that's like, okay, I want to know what she's going to share. The next section is why you're sharing it. So this example here is, but I've seen so many business owners dim their light, and I think it's time that we change the embarrassment and shame that comes with success. Plus, I make my clients share things that make them uncomfortable all the time. Ha ha ha. So here we go, ... And another thing that I do in copywriting, which I don't think I really have ever talked about publicly, but we talk about it in our courses a lot, is adding way more space into the copy in terms of, like Jeff Hunter says, one sentence is a paragraph. I love to look at my copywriting as like painting on social as well, that there's like there's a visual flow to it also. Do you ever do that?
Yeah, I do. The length of sentences and the flow, because big blocks of text, you skip over them or you don't read it all.
Yeah. And then sometimes if I have like 3 sentences in a row, I'll make sure that the first one is the shortest and it gets longer each time. Like I love it to like look cool that way. Yeah. And I don't know if AI does it as
you could probably prompt it. Yeah.
You can prompt it to do some of that. And sometimes you have to go and change words, like find a synonym for a long word or something like that.
Yeah. I've used it. We use it a lot for the space and stuff like that, but I've never actually tried to get it to make it look pretty like that. I'm going to do that today. See if I can come up with that. Okay. So then let them know why it's important. Then compare where you are at now to where you were at the beginning of the journey. So like if you had told me 3 years ago that I'd be winning a sales competition, I don't know if I would have believed you. And then in all caps, never in a million years that I think I would be able to win a sales competition. Then another sentence, seriously, period. When I look back. So it's like, it's all of these different moments where you're sharing more of where you came from, then transition into the lesson. So when you transition into the lesson, and that's why blah, 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 right? So I'll tell you, I've happily invested loads of time and money to learn everything up until there. But when I look back on the strategies that really move the needle, there's only a few that seem to matter. And here they are. And so then adding in the lesson there. But similar to what you said earlier, you're starting with some sort of story and an emotional journey first before you get to the part where you're actually sharing the lesson. And then the transition to the CTA. So some sort of call to action. And in this type of a story, when we're transitioning to the call to action, it's you let them know why you're giving the call to action. Because if you jump in and you're like, and now sign up for my masterclass, right? That's going to like, ugh. So what it has in this example is that was a sign that I knew that I needed to share this with you. I pulled back the curtain for my private clients and I decided that I'm pulling back the curtain for you too. So making it something that is like, why are you actually sharing this here? I'm committed to making a bigger impact, blah, 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 blah. So it's like the damning admission that people talk about in marketing also. That's just one example of a framework.
Are you looking to quickly boost new Amazon product launches or scale up existing listings to reach first page positioning? The influencer platform Stack Influence can help.
That's right. Stack Influence pushes high volume external traffic, sales straight to Amazon listings using micro influencers that you only have to pay with your products.
They've helped up-and-coming brands like Magic Spoon compete with Cheerios for top category positioning, while also helping Fortune 500 brands like Unilever launch their new products.
Right now is one of the best times to get started with Stack Influence. You can sign up at stackinfluence.com or click the link in this video down in the description or notes below and mention Misfits, that's MISFITS, to get 10% off your first campaign. stackinfluence.com. Along those same lines too, one of the things that, I don't know if you'd use this technique, but saying the wrong thing on purpose can actually make something go viral, because human nature, human psychology wants to correct someone that says the wrong thing, not necessarily to one up them, but they want to actually correct them. And so sometimes I've seen people be very successful by posting untrue things. And I think some of our politicians do this stuff too on purpose.
Do you think?
I think they use this technique very skillfully in some ways. It really irritates a lot of people and causes them to
And
not
that's exactly what they want.
But it's exactly what they want. And and I look at some of these politicians that do this kind of stuff, I'm not naming names, and I'm like, that was brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, so even with that in mind, like typos can be really great also. We have a gift that we give that is our top 100 posts on social media. And we've actually done it we have 3 years of it now with our top posts as a part of this like gift that we give away. And it's something that we charge for. Sometimes I do it like $1. You can pay what you want. It's a little course thing. But the advertisement image that I had for it said top engagement post, but it actually was missing the E. So it said top engagement post.
Yeah.
It wasn't on purpose. I just really can't spell like I shared earlier, and I didn't catch it. And I had actually, it was a post, but it did really well. So I did like a little boost on it, and I had so many people comment about it being spelled wrong. But after you boost a post like that, it's really hard to edit it. And so I just left it because I thought it was funny, but it got us loads of engagement. So,
but that's human, right? So
yeah,
like we do that as well. We intentionally just make spelling mistakes, and this is when you're running it through AI. So we've got prompts that just minor mistakes, minor grammatical mistakes that make you look a little bit more human.
Yeah, totally. I have all these other things too with those types of stories actually, where we take all the stories that you collect and then you can turn it into short videos. You can turn it into something where you're like ready. I remember when Clubhouse was out, I had a whole framework for people who were using Clubhouse that was like, well, for people like me who, and then you add your little story in there, as XYZ says, as I always love to say, we help our clients too. Like those types of starters where you can plug your stories into it are really cool also. It's a lot of goodness. There's also something to the way that you actually deliver it. And that's completely separate from how you're writing it, but the way that it actually comes out of your face.
Out of your face.
Right out of your face.
That goes back to performance, though. If you look at good dance, it's not just the moves of the body, it's the facial expressions that can make or break a winner on So You Think You Can Dance, or it's facial expression is so important. And a lot of people, I don't think, understand that.
Times a million. And some people, I always like to remind people that when you're speaking, this is an instrument, all of it. And so we have a warm up called the BFAB warm up, which is your breath, your face, your articulators, and then your body and voice. And people don't warm up their face. So when they communicate, they're like talking like this, where they're not even moving anything because they've either had so much Botox or they just like don't know how to actually move their face. Where I sometimes move my face too much, but it does really make an effect on things. There's so many pieces that go into it.
So how do you warm up your face? How do you warm up your face?
We could do it together.
Hey,
let's do it.
No.
Okay.
So that would be more of the articulator side. Warming up your face, you actually warm up your whole face. So you make your face really big like this.
I'll try.
Do it with me. So open your eyes and your mouth. And then squish it really tiny. Squish it. Good. And then make it big. And squish it. Good. And then push your whole face to the right. And push your whole face to the left. And then we do it around in a circle. And then the other way. Good. And then you're going to...
Great for a toothache.
Oh my God, it's warm. Okay, then you're going to puff your cheeks up really big like this. I get like tension in the back of my jaw there. And then... we move into moving your tongue around on the inside of your mouth like this. The other side. Right? And that's just getting started. Then we move into the articulators. But there you go. You can like... So we talk about how you want to be creating a vocal coloring box, but most people don't even know, like, your face is part of where your voice is resonating. So if you take your fingers, like take 2 fingers and put it on your nose like this and go, you so you feel it buzzing in your nose, right? But then if you go, it doesn't buzz in your nose as much anymore. At least it shouldn't.
No.
Yeah. So then put your hands on your chest. And now you feel it buzzing in your chest because your body is actually a conduit for the sound vibrations, which is why you guys have seen me speak on stage, but you know how when I teach our confidence thing, the quesadilla of awesome, at the end of teaching it, I have everyone hold their fingers up and then tap their chest like this. Do this with me. Right? Yeah. And you're supposed to be putting all the things that make you awesome into your whole body. And then you move your shoulders like this.
I'm just giving my boobs a massage.
Just above your boobs. Above your boobs.
Okay.
It's hard with your beard. Okay. And then you're going to kind of bounce like this. And then you go. Okay. And now every time I do that, I get like tingles everywhere. It's so awesome. It brings your whole energy into your body. So you're showing up in a completely different way than if you started speaking without doing that, because you've now physically unlocked different aspects of your whole being, and your voice now has a chance to resonate in a bigger, more full way.
So it's like an athlete stretching before a game.
100%. You are an athlete. My voice teacher, because I still take singing lessons, he has a book called The Singing Athlete. His name is Andrew Byrne. And it is amazing the things that you can do by like moving your pinky or these like crazy jaw exercises that he does that unlock all sorts of sound. So as a speaker, it's important for us as well.
You know, I've watched like with all these political, when anybody is doing a political, at an event or an announcement or a rally, a lot of the times they'll have somebody doing sign language.
Oh, yeah.
And the best, I mean, I just watched the sign language guys because the facial expressions that they use to bring out the signage that they're doing is incredible, especially the guy in LA. Like that guy, it uses his face. Like everything
Well, and if you
is
think about
from
it,
his face.
people aren't hearing we have a really good friend whose son has a cochlear implant. And so we've brought in ALS, or is that what they're ASL? Oh my gosh, ALS. Geez. There's my dyslexia. See right there. We've brought people in to sign our shows when we do the musicals with my kids and stuff because of her son and his friends. And it's just a good thing to do. But with his friends then can come and stuff also. But they're not able to hear the emotion in the word. So I'm sure that has something to do with conveying that.
Yeah, it's over expressed, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, that's probably
it's really
right.
Cool. I like it. You know, one other thing I just thought of with the performing aspect that a lot of people don't talk about is actually the listening aspect. And we were talking about panels before we started recording, right? And one of the things that I noticed at a panel that Kevin and I both saw was that sometimes people who are hosting the panel don't listen to the responses from the people. And they just say, there was one person I saw recently who just kept saying, "Thank you for that response. Next question." And that is like totally boring to me because if you're not actually fully listening to the response that you're getting and weaving that into the next part of the conversation, you might as well just write a blog post from each person and send it out.
So just engage. The host should engage, right?
Yeah. And really listen, not just sit there as a talking head, like actually have real conversation.
That's hard for some people though, because to listen and to think ahead, especially if you're not written down or prepared, how can I segue this, or how can I tie this, or how can I bring this? You've got to be almost like half listening and half thinking ahead.
So I think that's exactly what it is, and it's a skill set. It
is a skill set, and a lot of people can't, especially to make it fluid, to where it's almost conversational.
Okay, so
that's difficult. I do that. I do that.
They shouldn't be moderating a panel. Not the right person to moderate a panel. I don't know. I get paid to MC events a lot, and I love MCing, and I have done it for years and years and years. I used to MC this crazy art show with 40 artists, and I'd have to introduce every one of them. I really enjoy it. But I was MCing TNC once, and I was MCing the stage in the middle of the expo, which is my favorite because then I still get to hang out with my friends. I'm not like locked in a room somewhere. And I was talking to someone, and my friend Manny was speaking. And in the middle of his presentation, while I was talking over here, he mentioned my name and like said something about me. And I don't know how, but while I was having a full conversation with this person, I heard exactly what he said there. And I pulled the mic over and I responded to what he said as if I had been listening fully to that part of the conversation. And my friend was like, "I do not understand how you just did that." So I think I have two brains. I've actually like split them so I can listen at two different ways.
Hey, Kevin King and Norm Farrar here. If you've been enjoying this episode of Marketing Misfits, thanks for listening this far. Continue listening. We've got some more valuable stuff coming up. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast player, or if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, make sure you subscribe to our channel because you don't want to miss a single episode of the Marketing Misfits. Have you subscribed yet, Norm?
Well, this is an old guy alert. Should I subscribe to my own podcast?
Yeah, but what if you forget to show up one time and it's just me on here? You're not going to know what I say.
I'll buy you a beard and you can sit in my chair too. And you can go back and forth with one another. Yikes! But that being said, don't forget to subscribe, share it. Oh, and if you really like this content, somewhere up there's a banner. Click on it and you'll go to another episode of the Marketing Misfits.
Make sure you don't miss a single episode because you don't want to be like Norm.
Oh.
I agree. I think that's something that a lot of people have trouble doing, but that's what separates the good host, whether it's TV host or speakers or whatever, from or panel host, from the ones that are not so good. They're just mechanical and going through the process.
And I'm sure that is why I have a hard time focusing on other things, because when I'm focusing on two things at one time, I think you're not actually supposed to be able to do, then it shows up. I'm sure my husband could tell you other ways that it's detrimental to my health, probably. But
So
hey,
your business right now is primarily coaching, or is it doing agency stuff? Because I know you're big in the AI space, using a lot of AI too. What's putting the food on the table right now?
Yeah, so we actually just made a big change and decided that we are shutting down our done for you social media services so that we can focus 100% on our coaching, consulting, and doing AI agent build outs. And we've told all of our clients. Everybody has been very proud of me for it. we actually, the person on my team who was running that part, I'm helping her launch her own agency. So she's like, it's awesome. And we were going to be losing not gigantic, but a good chunk of income from that. But I just knew that was the right decision we had to make. And within 5 days, we way more than replaced it because I launched a new AI coaching program. We through this new AI program, it's called AI Stars, where we're talking about all the advanced crazy stuff that I used to kind of keep hidden because people were getting overwhelmed. But I was like, wait a minute, maybe there are some people who want to be overwhelmed. So I gave them that chance. We had 150 people join, and it was over $300,000 in annual recurring revenue that we just did in 5 days last week, 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Awesome.
Very excited about it.
You'll have to do a post.
Yeah. I know. I will be doing a post. You are right.
Do a story post.
I know exactly.
And you'll sing, I'm in the money. I'm in the money. Dancing.
Yeah, I got it. I should sing that one. But really for me, what it was about was like listening to what people want. And even today, someone said, man, I was really about to drop my membership in the Content Club, which is where we focus on AI content, the Content Club. He said I was going to drop my membership there, and then you launched this, and this is exactly what I was looking for. So we had loads of people upgrade. It was just a really cool thing, but it was a twofold decision. One was listening to what people were actually saying in our other programs. Marcus, who I mentioned earlier, he is the one that actually fully inspired it because he was like, I don't know why you don't have this as an offer. And I was like, well, that's actually what I want to be doing. But I had been trying to hold myself back for who knows whatever reason. So I think when you really lean into what you love and you actually listen to your people, it is fruitful on all sides.
And authenticity in today's world is how you're going to stand out. And as we're moving more and more towards AI.
Yeah. And so it's fun to help people to do that. It's good. And then to answer your question also, like speaking is like my main thing this year. I'm just looking to get more and more, continue speaking because I love that. So it's good.
So how can people get a hold of you?
Hey, well, on the socials, on Instagram, it's The Prepared Performer. That's my website, The Prepared Performer. On Facebook, it's Molly Mahoney. And I put together something super cool for you.
Ooh.
Can I tell you the cool thing? So we are doing so much with AI, really grounded in who you are as a human being. And so I put together an AI marketer's toolkit just for y'all. And it will actually give you our custom GPTs that weave your weird, the things that make you weird and unique and awesome, all of the storytelling kind of stuff that we talked about with our crazy magical AI systems and a couple other like templates and really great things kind of just to help you weave that storytelling into your marketing. And you can get it if you go to molly.live. So MOLLY.live/MMP for Marketing Misfits podcast. MMP.
Wow. Fantastic. Thank you.
That. Awesome. Everybody go get that. So it's Molly, MOLLY /live, LIVE /MMP. That's awesome. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Now, Molly, that's awesome. But I do have one last question.
Okay.
All right. And this is something we ask our guests or our misfit at the end of every podcast. Do they happen to know a misfit?
Okay. I know so many misfits. That's such a great question because I know so many. So I'm going to ask a question back to you. What kind of misfits are you looking for? Because I know misfits. You want a marketing misfit? Do you want a human misfit? That's separate.
It can be an entrepreneurial misfit or a marketing misfit. Somebody that's, somebody that's thought or is thinking outside of the box to become successful, or somebody who's had to overcome a crazy hurdle to become successful?
Yes. Do you know Kenya Kelly?
No.
Amazing. I think she's the misfit that I'm going to mention today.
Very good.
She's an awesome misfit. She does a lot about TikTok, and it's actually really cool the way that she shared her journey and her story with all of that. Yeah, she just is really funny and authentic and real, and she does all kinds of stuff, but TikTok is like her thing. Kenya Kelly.
Can't wait to talk to her.
Yeah, I'll connect you.
Thank you. All right, Molly. Well, we're going to remove you, and I'll kind of slap around Kevin for a bit. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks. I'm so grateful for you both. And what a wild, fun conversation. I never thought I'd get you both to go.
That'll be the next TikTok short. There. Okay.
Okay, bye.
That's my other job here. Remove. There. All right. What do you got to say? You just going to sit there? You're just sitting there.
I'm just
You got nothing to say.
I'm just waiting for you. I'm just waiting for you to practice what we just learned.
Yeah. And you know, when my wife talks to me, that's all I hear. So
Poor Connie. She's a
see, like the Charlie Brown teacher.
But she's been
No,
taking
that's not
care of you
true.
with toothache, I bet.
What's that?
As an ex-nurse, I bet she's been pampering you with you getting to eat lots of ice cream. No ice cream. Was it cold? Too cold for it?
No,
it's soft
sensitivity at all. No, she went out and she got me tons of pudding, Jell-O, ice cream. So it's been great. I should have toothaches more often. At least it's not dog ice cream. It's real ice cream.
That's true.
No.
That's true. I'll have some of that for you the next time you come.
All right, very good. Okay, how do people find us, Kev?
Yeah, it's if you want to, if you like this episode with Molly, make sure you check out that link that she actually shared, molly.live/MMP, and grab those tools that she shared. That's pretty awesome. Some probably some good brainstorming and some good headway with those. If you like this episode, be sure to like this episode and also forward it to a friend or share it with somebody and let them know. Hey, you got to check out the Marketing Misfits podcast. This Norm and Kevin guys are quite the character, and they say some cool stuff and have some cool guests. You can also hit the subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to this on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you may be listening to this. We have a new episode that comes out every single Tuesday with a brand new guest, so don't miss an episode. Also, be sure to watch for the announcement of our newsletter. We have a Marketing Misfits newsletter coming out very soon as well. You want to definitely make sure you subscribe to that free newsletter. But in the meantime, you can always find out what's going on right now by going to marketingmisfits.org. Is it .org?
CO. I'm dyslexic.
.co. That's right. Marketingmisfits.co, not .com. Nope. That'll take you to a surprise website. You might be in for a big surprise if you go there. But marketingmisfits.co. That's how you get a hold of us.
All right. Until next Tuesday, we will see you later.
Take care.
Bye.